Welcome to the fourth episode of Series 84, everyone. This month we have previous guest Satah with us to talk about two games kickstarting as one book, Galactic and Going Rogue. This episode gets to the discussion portion of our series, but before we get to that, we do have some calls to action coming up after the show. Here's what to expect.
You can join us here after the show, where we will have more info on the Galactic and Going Rogue Kickstarter, brief information on the upcoming One Shot Network Patreon drive, as well as information on our own Patreon and how to leave us a review for the show, as well as all of our patron thank yous.
With all of that out of the way, enjoy the show, everyone.
Welcome back to our discussion episodes. Last time we finished our session 0 for our Galactic and Going Rogue characters. This episode, we are going to be discussing the character creation process. We're excited to welcome back Satah, the system design consultant for Going Rogue and previous guest on the show. Satah, can you reintroduce yourself for everyone at home? Tell us about the character you made for Galactic. Start there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Satah. I use they, them pronouns. I am a TTRPG editor and occasional designer. I make a podcast that is multiple discrete playthroughs of solo games, multiple guests playing the same solo game that I then weave together to show off the different experiences of it, called Folio. I'm also a musician and a bunch of other stuff. GayGothVibes.online is my website, and I'm PosataChips.GayGothVibesOnline. I think I missed a dot in there, but whatever. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm around. And for Galactic, I created a mechanic, the mechanic, in fact, whose name is Tessely Sharp, but they go by Edge. They have curious eyes and worn hands, and their style is a repurposed uniform, goggles, and a ring of keys. They basically are they were forcibly retired from piloting for mysterious political reasons and are now just a full-time mechanic for the Liberation. They will fix your ship. The things that they want you to pay them in are gossip, and they want you to let them do weird experiments on your engine. That's it. So cheap, not even a problem.
Just such a small price to pay.
Yeah, exactly. And they always have with them the right tools, random spare parts, and suspicion. I also created 2 NPCs who are a troublemaker pilot whose ship they're always repairing, and a connected smuggler who gets them rare parts. And then, do we want to go into the relationships between characters, or is it just sort of the overview like that?
Yeah, let's just do the overview because we haven't introduced everybody.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's Edge.
And we can get into our relationships when we get to fan fiction, too.
Perfect.
Ryan, can you please tell us about your character for Galactic?
Yeah. So I made the Nova, who is goes by Antares. No last name because it's supposed to be a mystery. That Antares is effectively a secret prince for a royal family on a quote-unquote neutral world that is actually on the side of the Liberation, working secretly against the mandate. And I am trying to keep my identity kind of secret so I can, better help the Liberation and everything there. I have an Astroblade, and I have the ability to use effectively the space between, which is the magic portion of this galaxy that lets me do some really cool things. And the Astral Blade is connected to me and actually currently being repaired a bit by Tesla, the mechanic. So that's one of those relationships. And then I'm also searching for a sense of belonging and for the mandate's hidden vulnerability. And the reason I'm searching for that is my future currently uncreated child is coming to me in visions and giving me advice about stuff that is going to happen so we can avoid a darker future.
So obviously our patrons have heard some of these episodes already, like the original ones, because they were edited early for early release. Apparently, this is not the first time Ryan has played a belonging outside belonging game and created a secret future child.
No way.
Right?
Apparently.
It was very much, like if I had a nickel.
That's so funny.
I would have 2 nickels. Yeah, somebody pointed out, they're like, if I had a nickel for every time Ryan created a secret future child in a belonging outside belonging game, and we were like, I'm sorry, what? What did we do?
That's right.
Come again? So thank you, Danny, for pointing that out. I had forgotten about that.
I also had forgotten about that. I knew about the time traveling shenanigans in there.
Well,
but
because
I forgot.
anytime there's an opportunity to do time travel, Ryan is like, so I explicitly said, we're not making magical girls.
Correct.
And Ryan was like, fine, I will do all the other tropes that I normally do. They just won't be magical girls.
Exactly. It's fine.
Know thyself, etc.
Permanently true to himself, Ryan has once again.
Yep. It's fine.
Yeah.
In my family, the other relationship I had is my innocent family that are just generally good people plotting against the mandate. And that's part of the reason why I'm gone, is to protect them and the entire liberation if possible.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So Amelia, how about your character?
Well, I made the diplomat named Loquace Brink. It's very important to me that everyone knows that there's an apostrophe. It's L-O apostrophe Quace. Because it's Star Wars. I think the most important things about Loquace are impractical dresses and hoods. I also have a concealed blaster, but the impractical dresses and hoods are really like kind of all you need to know about this character. We could have stopped character creation right there, and I would have been fully satisfied with the situation. However, I also had to pick 2 beliefs. I picked, if someone must do something they will regret, it should be me. And there's no such thing as negotiation with the mandate. In other people, I engender righteous anger and focus. I also have an analytical translation droid, a mercenary politician mother who's affiliated with the mandate, and a cocky ex who's only sort of an ex. Because I was like, how can I make this character just a little bit more complicated and morally gray and questionable? And also wear hoods.
Yeah, importantly, that not quite an ex is the troublemaker
That's
pilot
right.
who I frequently have to clean up after.
Right. Yeah, I love this character. And I think everything will go right all the time for her.
I mean, this is the game where that might be true.
That's right. Yeah.
Speaking of which.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Satah, you made another character.
I did. Yes. In Going Rogue, I made a knight errant, the knight errant, who I called Shenry Imbellin. Again, throw an apostrophe in there, just kind of wherever your heart tells you. I don't know that it's like strictly important.
I love that you're like there's an apostrophe wherever your heart feels there's an apostrophe.
Let the space between guide you to where you think there should be an apostrophe in this name.
The true apostrophe, the true space between is the apostrophes we added along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
This character is in fact a Nova. an old grizzled. They were with an Order of Novas, and then they lost their closest comrade, and they left. They are now sort of wandering around, looking for another cause to commit to. They have a sniper rifle. They have a damaged but functional astroblade, which is not theirs. It is the damaged astroblade of their fallen closest comrade. They have a principle they abide by, which is when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And they have a principle burning a hole in their heart, which is to take responsibility for their actions. As well as that character, I created couple of sort of connections for them. They have a faithful former comrade. So this is somebody who is maybe still in this Order of Novas, maybe also retired or gone in a different way, who is much more of a believer, much less cynical than Shenry has ended up. And they also have a vengeful client whose job they abandoned because this client asked them to do bodyguard duty, but then secretly was like, hey, when you show up, I'm actually going to ask you to do some space between magic. And they were like, no, I don't do that anymore. I have a gun. I'm going to leave.
What a good excuse. Good. Sorry, I don't do that. I have a gun. Got it.
Uh-huh.
Ryan, can you tell us about your Going Rogue character?
So I made the goodest boy, Potench Kintek, aka Sparks. He is a convert, the convert, the happy-go-lucky, fresh face of the liberation, with glasses, an oversized helmet, and a sentimental token from my life before. And I joined the liberation because a friend joined before me, who is actually one of the relationships that I have. And they joined and became part of the intelligence pillar. And I also have a Maverick X that I had left on my homeworld to join the liberation, and things were fine there as well, but we just couldn't be together over such a long distance. It wouldn't have been fair. So with my earnest face and starry eyes, I use my hacking skills to help get us into places more easily. And I really want to learn the use of the space between, which is nice that we have a knight errant in the group that is very game for utilizing the space between all the time, I'm sure. And I want to learn grace under pressure because I'm a little bit too high strung at times when the going gets tough.
I appreciate that, like, it's like you could build two relationships. And Ryan was like, you know what is important to me is that my character is the epitome of it's not you, it's me.
Uh-huh.
So you're like, that's a relationship I need to establish about this character. It's like, it wouldn't be fair for me to try and string you. It's not you, it's me.
That's what makes it so much fun and messy.
Sure.
Oh, I love mess.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Amelia, tell us about your Going Rogue character.
Sure. I made a spy named Helia Bite.
What a name.
It's a great name.
So good.
Once again, I've chosen hoods as an important part of my character. I have a hooded cloak, hidden pockets, and an excess of belts. All of the things that you need to make a cool character. Once again, I would like to assert that we could have stopped right here and I would have been happy. So I had a
I do like that both of our groups have a character just bathed in leather belts.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, it's important. That's how you know it's Star Wars. It's by the number of belts and the number of apostrophes.
Yes.
So I had to pick a principle that I've broken and one I will not break. So the principle I've broken is loyalty to those that have helped me in the past. And I will not break my principle to only kill those with a weapon in hand. I had to make a sacrifice, which was my chance to live a different life. A chance to, not die, probably. And then I am fighting for a lover that I left in order to protect them. It was also me and not them. So I have a scheming Imperial officer is one of my relationships. I also have a trusting contact that I rely on for information, and a gossipy criminal that always has what I need. So
I'm glad that our Going Rogue characters have nothing but good news ahead for them.
Yeah.
I think it's great that like they are gonna come out happy and live long, full, beautiful lives with their loved ones they left behind.
They technically will, because we'll never play them, but
That's true. There's nothing but potential.
Just like my character's
Just
name.
like potential. Potential Kintech.
Well, let's go ahead and dive right into a segment that we are calling D20 for Your Thoughts.
D20 for your thoughts?
So in this segment, we talk to our guests about their thoughts on the whole character creation process that we went through, how it relates to this system, other systems that you've played. First, we didn't get a chance to talk about this last time we had you on because we just did a spotlight series, or spotlight episodes, I guess. So we didn't get to do our favorite cliche podcast question. How did you first get into RPGs?
How did I get into RPGs? I think that I made D&D characters in high school for a game that I ended up not being able to join. So I sort of got like a really important part of the experience early, which is scheduling conflicts.
Oh, yeah.
And then
that's a true D&D experience.
And then I played a lot of 5e. And I, in part, I think started moving into other systems. I was listening to like a lot of actual play. I listened to the One Shot podcast a lot, quite a few years ago. And so I was like experiencing other systems, but I don't think it was until I started listening to Friends at the Table, actually, that I actively explored other systems. And then I had the classic, I played The Quiet Year and Fiasco. And the combination of those, I've said before and will say forever, I think that I will have to credit those two games in the ludology of any game that I ever create, because the two of those in combination like cracked my brain open so fully to what games could be outside of 5e that I was like, what? And it was like a fundamental shift for me. And then after that, I just really, it became one of my biggest just hyper-focused special interests for like the past decade. So it was a slow ramp, but as soon as I got on there, I was really on there.
Yeah, you were like all the way in. Yep. That's like an interesting set of games to really like first dip your toes in with, or like to first like get to play. Because they are so different from what most people, like the classic experience is like, oh, like I had a friend's older brother in high school and ran some D&D and like that's sort of like the quintessential experience. But to start with something like The Quiet Year or like it's a very, very different entry point.
Yeah, and I know that it works differently for everybody, but I see like, you'll see somebody post in an RPG forum like, how do I get my 5e group to play something that isn't 5e? And a lot of people will recommend, baby steps of like, try this system that's similar but a little different, or try one of the other really big name games that has a very similar structure but different themes and that kind of thing. And I do think that for some people, they need that for sure. That is going to be the most enjoyable system to like slowly explore through similar things. I am a really big advocate when it's appropriate. And I think it's appropriate more often than it's recommended. Deep end. Play something experimental, play something that is like so different, and just like then start like flitting in between and be like, okay, so I tried something that's way out there. Awesome. Now what? What's in between there? Like what are all of the things? Because I think that it, it opens up the possibility space in your brain and changes everything in my experience at least.
Yeah, I think it sort of like rewires your sense of like, what is a game? Like, what do you mean I don't have to have dice? What do you mean I don't have to like have turn structures for combat? Like, what, you know? Yeah, because I think it is, you know, you play one way for a long time and it is hard to kind of adjust of like, I don't understand. What do you mean we don't do this? Like, how does that work then? You know, like, how do I?
Yeah. Well, especially if you're coming from like a rules forward game into like a narrative forward game.
Yeah.
Even that step, no matter how crunchy the narrative forward game is, it's a completely different experience than, okay, now I got to figure out where I'm going to go on this battle map and how much dice I'm going to need for my next roll and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's almost something to be said for like being like, this is, you know, like we're not trying to translate. We're not trying to like just this is a different thing. You know, it's not like let's take a step from movies to TV shows. We're like, let's take a step from movies to knitting club.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're just not the same thing. It's like, let's not even try to like find. No, it's just a different thing. And then you can kind of roll backwards because I think then you're not as worried about hanging on to the parts that you already know or trying to, you know, make those like mental jumps of, like I said, like translating things. Like, what is this? You know, what is my frame of reference for this? To rather just be like, this is something new. Just don't even think about that. Like, this is a new thing.
I'm realizing one important detail is that like, similar to the scheduling thing that I started off this answer with, I always had the desire to play new games and try new games. And it wasn't until I was listening to Friends at the Table and then some of my friends were listening to Friends at the Table that I had people to start doing that with. I think that was like finding the, like finding a community of people or finding people who are interested in doing that exploration, I think is obviously because, you know, I referenced, you'll always see these posts on RPG forums, like how do I get my friends to play a different game? Like that is the biggest stepping stone in a lot of ways. It's just like finding people to pull along on the ride with you, or it was for me at least.
Yeah.
I will say that the answer to that question for a lot of people sometimes is like, you have to be the one to run it for them. Is, you know, like my brother was like trying forever. He's like, I want to like not play D&D. I want to try something else. And then he was like, I think I'm going to have to just run it. And so like I gave him a few ideas of games, whatever, and they ended up doing not D&D for like several years, doing a couple different systems over time. And now he's like, I want someone else to run for a little while. And they're like back to D&D.
After several years. Man, that's so funny.
Because like that's what the other people like know how to run. He's like, okay, whatever.
I guess that's
so, but he's very much like, he's like, that's fine. That's like, if that's what you want to run, like I just want to play. And so then that's
That
fine.
is so funny. And I guess that makes it, that's a great point because I don't think it's a coincidence that the two games I named as my first are both GMless. Like The Quiet Year and Fiasco, nobody has to specifically run them. They're both very built to sit down and play together with no one person taking more responsibility. Yeah, I think that it makes sense that happened first before anything else.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I played Fiasco with my kids like a year ago, a few months ago. I don't know. What is time? And it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Like my youngest, who is, to be clear, a 6th grader, played a character named Custard Doug, who is a 40-year-old drug dealer who sells drugs in the parking lot of Culver's.
Oh my God.
And Custard Doug is my favorite. Like my favorite RPG character ever. He also has a giant pet wolf, I think.
That does sound like a
she was like
Fiasco
all in.
She was
she was like all in, like right away. She was like, I mean, that's also like sometimes the beauty of playing with people who are not super used to RPGs is they're just like, I can do anything. Great. Custard Doug is a 40-year-old drug dealer, and I am a 6th grade girl.
Fantastic.
Great. Amazing. Gosh, RPGs are so great.
Good. Does anyone know about this?
It's very good.
Yes. Oh, don't worry. I like shared about this on Blue Sky with like Jason Morningstar. I was like, you need to know about Custard Doug.
Fantastic.
The world needs to know.
Everyone needs to know about Custard Doug.
Absolutely. I am certain that Custard Doug has made it as an NPC in one of our listeners' campaigns somewhere.
Yeah.
Has
Custard
to.
Doug is in someone's game somewhere. People were
gotta
really
be.
excited to hear about Custard Doug. And I just, fiasco. What a great game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, speaking of great games and great mechanics, Satah, what sort of process or mechanic do you really love to see in a character creation system?
Yeah, this is an interesting question to me because I love character creation, which I know will be very controversial with the hosts of this podcast, right? Like what a statement to make.
Our listeners are
here.
not fans. They don't like character creation at all.
I think
They don't like the best part of RPGs?
I love it so much, and I don't know that I have a super specific answer just because I exploit like a good character creation system that plays really well with the game, that really teaches you like here's what the game is going to focus on and that kind of thing. I have a lot of appreciation for the like vast breadth of what that can be. I think also in some ways, my answer to that, I think, is less developed than it used to be because I play a lot more solo games now for my solo games podcast. And a lot of solo games, even really good solo games, have character creation that is like, you have a character. Who are they? And
oh my God.
And then the rest of the game will be so developed. The character creation will just be so open, which I find completely stifling, unfortunately.
I need a starting point because especially when you get to like a lot of solo games too, it's asking like these very like broad, open-ended questions. And I am seeing more and more solo games now. This is like something we were talking about as Ennie's judges recently too. It's just like the shift in solo games that have gone from just like open question journaling to like having these like really intricate mechanics and like being like these very full-fledged games and stuff. But you're right. So many of them are just like, you have a person, ready, go. Yeah. And you're like, you know, but when you get to especially like those journaling ones where you're asking like these really open-ended questions, like how do you feel about these things? And you're like, all I've told you so far is that my name is Joe and I used to have a dog. Yeah. Like I'm going to need more to go on. And I think maybe some of that's by design. Some of it I think is like you are meant to explore who this person is through playing the game, that like a lot of the game is character creation and character building is what that's the whole point of it. But yeah, I think more and more as I'm watching the mechanics get more and more complex and interesting and things, like that is a space that's really, it needs to be fleshed out more.
Yeah, I was very surprised because we did, I did a solo series for January this year and a little bit of solo work for February as well. And just trying to find games that had interesting character creation was a chore because there were like at least 70% of the games that I looked at were this is who you're playing or who are you and
I mean, and some of them I think are meant to be done like sort of like downtime of like I think there was like a space that some of them are trying to fill of that scheduling question again, right? Like I have a really cool character and I want to do something with them, but I can't, you know, make a game or like that kind of stuff.
Like transplanting an existing character into it, right?
Oh, that's really interesting because I think that really speaks to like there is a culture of play that I have grown to really struggle with, which is the make a character and bring them to the table kind of thing, you know, whereas I really prefer like a collaborative development of characters if I'm going to be playing a game with people, which I guess also is one specific thing I really love in character creation is relationship building, just like not only developing your own character, but like how do you know these people? How can you sort of collaboratively, like, how can we start already having at least a little bit of a relationship so we have something to build off of? Which, it's...
Yeah, something more than like meeting in the tavern. Yeah. Like I want something more cohesive. I want to know, like, why do I care about these people? Yeah. Like,
you bring
I think that's, I mean, and part of that is like the thesis of this podcast too. I think that we've kind of come to show over time, like, look how much more you end up with when you are sitting around doing it together. But yeah, that is a sort of like old school mentality that I think it's changing
Yeah.
more in games. But yeah, in solo games, that's definitely different.
Yeah, I actually, that gives me, you explicitly comparing that for solo games, I think gives me a little bit more patience with it, because it lets me understand, like, you know, that there is an audience for that. There are genuinely people who will be like, I have a character. Let me find a game to play that character in. That isn't me personally. Like, I truly sit at a table and nothing exists before the table, like, no matter what I'm doing. But I know that I'm not everybody, and I still might get frustrated with it and not think that it's ideal, but that at least gives me a better perspective on, like, who this is for, in a way where I'm like, okay, that's great. That just means that I need to look outside of this for, I'm really surprised at how few games there are on itch that are just character creation, like little character creation mini games, because I went looking for that as well, because I was like, maybe I could chain two games, maybe I could do a character creation game.
We should start writing some of those, Ryan, instead of trying to make a full game.
I've been thinking about organizing a game jam for it,
games?
because I want them to exist. Yeah.
I mean, we probably have some ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, if you do that game jam, like, we would love to, love to help out with that. Yeah, that's interesting, because I do think that, you know, like, a lot of people, like I said, like to use solo games as sort of a space to explore that, but I would love more games to have an option for people who don't.
That's the thing, if you
I
put in an
do
option,
agree, having read more and more of them. Yeah, exactly. And having read more and more of them, you're right. Like, that is, I don't think I had put my finger on that as being a thing that was, like, bugging me about them, but I definitely have been feeling like there's something that I just, like, I need more, like, to engage with this. And I think you're right. The character creation is what it is.
Makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the beauty of the fact that it took us an extra week to record this is that in the time since we made our characters to now, the Kickstarter has already met one of the stretch goals, which is you making fancy Google Sheets character sheets. And I share your love of spreadsheets. I'm not, like, anywhere near as, like, savvy with them, but I love them so much. So I would really love for you to talk about, like, some of the things that are going to be in there, some of the things that you felt were, like, important to have in that kind of tool. You know, please tell me everything. I want to know about, in particular, about these, like, electronic sheets, because we usually talk about, you know, the paper part, but we have you here to talk about this special part.
Yeah, I love spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets so much. I use them in my day-to-day life for everything. And I, in the last couple of years, got really into making automated character sheets in Google Sheets that track, like, you know, if there's a bunch of options in a character creation, just being able to, like, select an option and then it fills in your moves and it changes your stats and all that kind of stuff. That just turned out to be a type of, like, programming adjacent thing that I really enjoy for some reason. I truly can never predict what's going to make sense to my brain, but that spreadsheets, it turns out, are one of them.
It's the beauty of neurodivergence is that there's always someone out there who's like, that's my thing. Exactly. And it's great because the world needs people to have those kinds of things, you know?
I even actually, I just finished a technical writing program, just graduated, and I had to do a final project. I did a 40-minute long tutorial on how to make automated character sheets in Google Sheets with a bunch of, like, accompanying PDF documentation and examples and that kind of thing, which I should really just post somewhere. Because I think that it is helpful, even if I made it for school. So this is most of my projects were about, like, green death and green burial or tabletop role-playing games, because they just let you do whatever, it turns out.
The two genders.
Yeah. So with Galactic and Going Rogue, like, the sheets are the focus of the sheets is like helping character creation along by, like, providing book content at the correct times, making it so that when you select an option that you chose, it automatically fills it out and it puts it somewhere that is like accessible for other people to see and understand. And also, I'm hoping to find a really slick way to do automated token tracking, because you gather and spend and even share tokens with other people and pillars. I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do it yet, but I am going to crack it. It's going to be beautiful. And I'm a really big fan of utilities, I guess. Like what can be provided here that makes this kind of go a little bit more smoothly, and minimizes copy pasting from PDFs, which is one of the worst things that you have to do on a regular basis if you play TTRPGs. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I love the idea of like sheets that kind of pull in information from the book, especially because I think that's, you know, especially like when you're playing a game online and you're like, okay, I have a physical copy of the book, but we're playing online, so I need to fill out my character sheet over here so everyone can see it. And I don't want to sit here and type this full paragraph so that I remember it later. And, you know,
you copy from the PDF and the formatting is just all wrong. It adds too many enter characters.
Yeah. It's like, let's take up 6 lines for this one paragraph because, you know, they were in different lines in the PDF, even though there's no return. I do a lot of copying from PDFs in my job. And I hate it. Yeah, it's a pain. And so like, I love tools like that. And I love that I'm seeing more game designers and things like integrating some of that stuff from the start, or, you know, making that effort rather than kind of relying on people to figure it out. And I think there's like a great fan community around a lot of this stuff. There are so many people who have created amazing character sheets and, you know, character keepers and lore keepers and all of that kind of stuff. But seeing games really do that from the start has been awesome, because I think it's a really big accessibility thing for a lot of people. And especially as we see, like, you know, post-COVID, a lot more online play, I think that really has helped grow some of that too, to have dedicated tools for those things.
It's also just like, it's important to, this is something that I had to learn a lot about. And in my technical writing program, digital and physical media are different things. A layout that makes sense for print. I totally understand like the idea of just being like, our digital character sheet is just our physical character sheet, but it's a form fillable PDF. That can work for some things, but like, just like there are some things you can do physically that you can't do digitally as easily, you know, when it comes to like randomization or like physically altering objects and character sheets and whatever, that like just being aware of what you can do digitally and especially online, and just taking full advantage of both formats rather than doing one thing and just making it try and serve both purposes. Even just when it comes to like layout. I know that a lot of people mostly access things through their phone, which is unfathomable to me because I'm 30 or 40 years old. And so, but like a PDF is often, you know, laid out vertically. But a lot of people will be looking at stuff horizontally on their screens. How do you lay a character sheet out differently if it should be horizontal versus vertical and that kind of thing? All of those tiny little decisions that just like,
try doing a fillable PDF on your phone. It's garbage.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And people like me, like I love to write like little notes to myself in the margin. You know, it's like I will like take a skill or something, and I like to be able to like write a little note about like, hey, you know, when you do this, it gives you the, you know, like that kind of stuff. And it's like you have a fillable PDF that's like you can write in these boxes, and there's only so much room, and you know the text keeps getting smaller and smaller the more you put in there.
And the font is bad, you know, like for some reason. It's always the ugliest font.
Yes. Right. You know, which is why like I do it on my iPad with my Apple Pencil. Because I like to be able to write and make my little notes and, you know, draw arrows and all that kind of stuff. And so I think there's something to be said for, like form fitting the purpose. And yeah, it is more than just being like, I'm going to put text boxes in this PDF that we made. And I think about people like it's an accessibility thing too. Like my child has accommodations at school where they don't have to write things because part of their disability is that they have the worst handwriting I've ever seen in my life. And I've worked with doctors for the last 20 years. And so like being able to type things and having something that is made for that and, like for that kind of stuff too is important, even outside of just like, oh, we'd like to play online. It just sometimes people need things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there any like special things that you were like, I can't wait to find a way to like program this into this sheet?
I'm really hoping to find an efficient way to display pillar moves on people's specific character sheets so that like you don't have to flip between different tabs to see, because in the process of playing these games, like you can do your own moves, but you can also do moves as the pillars, as sort of like big narrative and like closer to like GM moves and that kind of thing. And having to like when you're playing a game like this physically, a lot of belonging outside belonging games will have you physically pick up a pillar or a setting element and like have it in front of you. It's so much easier to flip through pieces of paper and see them all in front of you than it is to flip through tabs of stuff. So I'm really hoping to find the most efficient way for people to see everything that they could do now, like all of their options at once, hopefully without overwhelming them, right? Like just not being like, here's everything you could do. Here's all of your options. Good luck. But just like, if you're sitting there and you're like, I want to do something. I feel like I remember a move. I don't want to flip through all these tabs. I never mind. Like somebody else just go ahead. The idea that you could just like flick your eyes over and be like, oh yes, I know exactly what I can do here. We'll see how it ends up. But.
And also in a way that like doesn't end up slowing the sheet down to a point where it's like useless too, because it can, like you have too much stuff in there and they start like chugging along as you're trying to like flip between the tabs and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a part that you found like particularly difficult or like something that you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do that? I mean, aside from the pillars and stuff that like.
Yeah, I mean, the automated token tracking in a lot of ways is because Google Sheets doesn't love having numbers change in that specific way. And so I'm going to have to do some probably quite goofy stuff to make that work in a way that is both like, there are ways that I could do it that would not be super user friendly, but would technically work. And I'm hoping that I can come up with a way that is probably very complicated behind the scenes, but not in a way that any players ever have to interact with. They just see like, press this button or put something in this cell. And behind the scenes, it's going to be doing like 17 lookups and like doing a bunch of weird formulas and stuff. But they don't have to see that, hopefully. Hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Call to action.
Yeah, like that. Honestly, I really can't wait for people to join next week, because I think next week is the part that I'm so excited for people to listen to.
The culmination of the whole series. The culmination
of everything and kind of seeing the fulfillment of what these games can do. But no, I really liked to... I like when we cover games that are like within existing systems sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong, I love like cool and exciting new mechanics in games. But sometimes when you cover a game that is in a system that we've already covered, I love to see the things that they changed or didn't change to make it work within that system. So getting to talk about, like how does building something in belonging outside belonging work? What choices were made to choose this system to make it work, to do all of those things. And I like it. I like that we got to talk about spreadsheet character sheets. I like, I don't know. I love our designer discussions. I just think that like,
I know.
I don't know. I think we're like hitting our stride with these, not to like pat ourselves on the back, but I feel like the last few, like we've really had some great discussions. So just like
Absolutely.
getting into the weeds of things has been really fun.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Satah as a guest as well. They have been very well informed on the two systems. Like they've had a tangential relationship with both of the systems.
Yeah.
Whereas unfortunately, the two designers for the systems, we weren't able to get them on for the series due to scheduling and all that sort of stuff. But Satah knocked it out of the park. And,
I know. It's a dear Satah. Like, I know you were nervous about whether you knew enough about the games to do this, but this has been such a great series. I know our audience is loving it. And I'm like, I had such a good time. I just also, dear Satah, I love you. You're amazing. I hope I'm not coming on too strong, but no, I love having them on. It's a great discussion, and I like a very cool set of games. And I loved getting to pick apart how like they're close but different too. I think that because this is the first time we've really covered a double game this way, and I think that's been really fun to dig into as well.
Yeah, and the next episode that we get to next week kind of goes through how it all blends together and everything, especially during our fanfic portion. So I don't want to give too much away, but definitely listen to that one as well, because we get into some really cool uses for these games at your table, which makes the Kickstarter make even more sense. Right. Honestly, why they're doing it together. So definitely, I'm really excited for everybody to hear that.
Yeah, I feel like most of this section was, hey, next week's episode, even better.
I know. It's just been building up.
But, to be fair, by the time people that listen to this portion of the show, they will have already listened to the episode. So, we don't need to convince them to listen to this one.
I know. Exactly. Well, before we let you go for the day, so you can get to the next one if you are binging through the history of the podcast, we do have some calls to action.
First up, if you're enjoying these games, you can check out the Galactic and Going Rogue Kickstarter in our show notes. They have 1 week left as of the release of this episode. They still have a ways to go to get to the Scum and Villains expansion. So if you haven't done so already, please go check that out and help them get there.
In other news, our network, the One Shot Podcast Network, is having a Patreon drive that starts today. All of the next 2 weeks will feature a variety of performances and shows on the One Shot Twitch channel at twitch.tv/OneShotRPG. If you head on over to the One Shot Network Blue Sky page, and I think a few other of the social media pages, you'll be able to find the first week's scheduled festivities, which include actual plays, Magic the Gathering live plays, trivia, and a bunch more. I think there's even an event where they're doing a fake budget room with James.
Yes. Yeah, I was confused about that because I kept seeing it. I was like, are you guys just like having a budget meeting on Twitch? And it was like, no, that's not what they're doing.
No, it's just ridiculous proposals to James to see if there's any like funds that we can siphon from the network for wild ideas. So it should be a really interesting improv.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. A lot of cool people participating. So please check it out. If you'd like to help us out specifically, there's a few ways you can do so. We would love it if you checked out our personal Patreon at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. If you're able to help us out, it would allow us to do more for the community and the show itself. Right around the corner, we'll have more free time to create some bonus content to make it worth your while. Only like 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks.
2 more weeks or so until the Ennies are done. And I will be a free woman. For now, we could definitely use your help. If we get to $160 a month, we will hire someone to do monthly webpage updates on our site at charactercreationcast.com. So that'll include adding information to pages dedicated to all of the games we're covering as on the show going forward, because a lot of people find us through searching for games. Also, at that level, we will create a unique enamel pin for all of our campaign level backers, which is the $10 and up level, and maybe get some extra for folks that join up at that level in the future. We are only 2 campaign level patrons away from our goal, so it's not very far at all. And you could help us get there.
Absolutely. And then if we do get a few more, if we get to that $200 a month level, not only will that unlock yearly subscriptions for all of our supporters, where we can offer that at a discount, it will also mean that we can afford to pay the web person a bit more every month to update the backlog of games on our site, and the ones that we just haven't had the time or energy to get to it all over the last X number of years. So that level is only 6 campaign level backers away, and it would be remarkable if we could get there before the end of the summer.
Joining at the campaign level means that you get new stickers every month that you are a patron. You would get a set of 3d6 Character Creation Cast branded dice that are great quality from Chessex in our signature teal, green, purple colors. A personalized thank you card from both of us, handcrafted by me, as well as many other perks. That is for $10 a month, and will go a long way toward helping provide a one-stop shop for all of the games that we cover on the show. So just 2 more people and we'll be that $160 level. We also have tiers at $5 and $1 a month that have various perks. We were actually able to finally record a chit chat because we know that we've been wanting to do those. So we finally got to do one of those today.
Absolutely.
That'll be out soon. So you can get all of that. Head over to patreon.com/charactercreationcast to get all of the info.
In addition to all of that, we do like to thank our current patrons every episode. Your support means so much to us and helps out a great deal. So let's go ahead and do that right now, starting with Lieutenant DJG, aka Tigranosaurus, and Eric Bonts. Many thanks to you.
Daryl Holiday II, Shadim Cabal, and the Shyest Barbarian. We're happy to have you with us. Thank you.
Benjamin Sweeney, Rob Fletcher, and Kevin Brown, thank you for your support.
Tentacle Duck, John Adamus, and A3 Sketchpad. We can't thank you enough, but we're going to keep trying every week.
Cole McCallum, Carlos Salazar, and Eric S., thank you all for your continued support.
Ian Popmeyer, Liam G., and Brian Colm, thank you for helping make all of this possible.
Garden GM, Tanglefoot, and Blue Kryptonite, our deepest thanks to all of you.
Danny, Nicole Trainer, and Liam Murray, thank you for your support.
Kenning, Brian Kurtz, and Mark E. Fair, thanks for supporting our dreams.
Drew Owen, Oz, and James McGinley, thank you.
Sean Metcalf, Robert, and Kevin Bates, you shouldn't have, but we're so glad you did. Thank you.
And Deadly Udley, thank you for believing in us.
And thank you to all of our future patrons. If you want to join this phenomenal group of individuals, head on over to patreon.com/charactercreationcast and help us out. And with that more assistance, we will be able to get those website upgrades and make exploring your favorite games that much easier. And if you want to join us instead in our discussion with our hosts, some of our guests, and a bunch of fans, you can head on over to our Discord at discord.charactercreationcast.com.
In addition to all of that, if you want to help us in another way that doesn't require any money at all, you can leave a rating or review for us on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Podcast Addict, and we'll read every 5-star review as we get them and as we both have a chance to record together. But I love reading those out on our show. So, and we don't have any waiting, so if you put one in now, you'll be up at the top of the list.
You'll be next on the list. Absolutely. That's all we have for today's episode. Join us here next week when we finish our discussion series with some remarkable fanfic as usual. Until then, take care, everyone. Stay safe, drink some water, may the space between be with you, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of this discussion series. We'll be back in part 2, picking up right where we left off.
Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at CreationCast, or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, exclusive merch, and much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time.